They just want you to sit in your chair and go hip hip hooray for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, same old, same old every single day without exception. Please watch the first series, the first 2 episodes, the second series. Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Sorry, I'm late. I was just doing something there and just got carried away, to be honest. Was looking for something, but I can't find it, unfortunately. So that's the end of that. Still can't find it. Really can't find it. But anyway, we're back here. That's it. Back on. And it's the history of literature tonight. Yes, history of literature, which is a great thing. It really is great, because what you've got great prose writers, great poets writing certain things, even artists. You know, because that's all involved in the arts of literature as well, right? So you've got all this, and are they visionaries for the future? Of course they are. Of course they are. Because you have the likes of Shakespeare, for example. What a terrible era we live in, when idiots govern the blind. Just think about that. Imagine that, what Shakespeare said. While idiots govern the blind. And what are we being doing? We're the blind and we're being governed by idiots. Got one big idiot, one big orange man in America, who's denying that he knew nothing about the bombing in Qatar. And he came out and said, maybe it'll bring peace now. They just tried to blow up the negotiators. They must think that you and I and everybody else are fools. So as I said, Shakespeare. Idiots governing the blind. And they must think that we are blind to everything. Oh, God. Really. Simon. Oh, glasses here. Simon. Hi, Frank and chat. I'm sorry to raise the matter, but what the hell was the Russian military sending drones to Polish airspace, whether a mistake or pro-Polish airspace defences? Carry on by saying. It's just madness why they do this. Clearly an own goal, as it doesn't help to try to temper the heat. Nothing will dampen the heat of Poland and the rest of Europe against Russia. Now, don't forget, at the beginning of all this, you've got to take into consideration, remember when a couple of drones went into a field and killing 2 farmers in Poland? And what did Zelensky say? They were Russian. We want you to attack them. We want NATO to attack them. Found out that they were Ukrainian, deliberately done. So, know what I mean? Take that into consideration, because I never trust them. Never ever trust them. But anyway, they weren't like they weren't drones that blow up everywhere. They were recon drones. There's only 5 of them as well. And don't forget, that these little Americans are still there, and they can jam all kinds of things, signals, and they could have just jammed them and sent them into Poland. Have you never thought of that, Simon? It's what you've got to think of. You've got to think back to what's happened in the past. You've got to think about the technology that the Americans have had. You've got to think about the technology that wasn't sent to Qatar. About these planes going over to bomb Doha. And Trump saying, I knew nothing about it, mate. Knew nothing. Honest to God, I knew nothing. And if you believe that, I'm going to tell you now that the Atlantic Ocean, all the water's gone. All the water in the Atlantic Ocean has evaporated. There's no water whatsoever. So you might as well believe that Trump didn't know about that attack in Qatar. Fed up with it. Ciao Franco, and everyone says Toscana. Aye, Toscana. Ambidextrous. Good evening, Frank and Shatters. Are you ambidextrous? Are you going, like if you come on to say hello and go again? Good job I'm not your lecturer. I still love you though. I still love you, ambidextrous. Hi, Frank and Anthony, watching from the bleachers as per, meaning as per usual. And the bleachers. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. Even if Frank says lovely Lynn. Hiya, Lynn. I'm Vitali. Vitali. What a name. Thanks, Vitali, because I was stuck. I can't even pronounce that. I know what stop is in Russian. Stop. You know what you see at signs, at the roads and junctions. Stop. CTO, but it looks like a letter M to me. I don't know what it is, but you'd know that. So that's me Russian, and neat. Johan. Good evening, Frank and legends. Hope everyone is well. Yes, Johan. We're well because you're here with us. Ambidextrous is here with us. Vitaly is here with us. Lynn Ellis is here with us. Simon's here with us. Bella Italia's here with us. Ciao Franco and legends. Hope you're all well. Thank you. Like he's also say hello to Vitaly. Oh yeah, Toscana. What a lady. Welcome, Vitaly. Benvenuto, Vitaly. And you. Especially with Ursula saying EU needs to militarise. The timing is incredibly suspicious. Yes. And have you known what's gone on in Nepal? Only last week there was a thing signed, an agreement to send a high-speed train, you know, the links right through to India. Then all of a sudden this week there's been a regime change we're going through Nepal, that is. And you had 2 years ago Victoria Nuland going over to Nepal and saying to their president, listen, you're either with us, the US, or China. You've got to choose. Colour revolution. Yesterday. Oh dear, dear, dear. And how did they get guns? How did these people get guns? It's incredible. It's a joke. People are... So you're right there, Johan. You're right. I'll just go through these and bring in my great friend. That is it. Mia. Hi all. Hiya, Mia. Callum. Alan. Are these secret messages? Is this the MI6 sending secret little codes out to me? Vitaly to Toscana. Ambidextrous. My cousin rang me. She likes to chat a lot. Can't get a word in. It's when you love ambidextrous. Can't get a word in. Cousin rings. Oh, I love you, girl. Love you. And Callum, Russia gone into Poland. Come on, exactly. Exactly. Daniela, ciao Franco. Hope you're well. Good evening, everybody. Ciao Toscana and Bella Italia. Oh, Bella say, Franco, I'm not feeling too good tonight. I can't send any messages, but I can listen to you. Oh, Bella. Bella, you're like me, honest. I sent her a message to Stefan this morning. He sent me a message, you know, and it took me an hour to send him it because I can't do this. It's shocking. And when I did it, I had the pain in this arm, but now all day I've had the pain in my left arm, you know, my left elbow, which I thought I got rid of. My old mate David's he sent me prices of those things, so I'll let you all know of these Liverpool things. See. Toscana. Daniela, ciao. That's nice. And Callum. Did you see the refugee from Ukraine get unlived by a guy in America? No, I haven't seen that. Callum. Or unlived, isn't it? You can't say these things. You can't say these things, can you? You can only say like the K, the KL, or unlived. No, never seen it. Stephen Gerrard. It's not football tonight, Brian. No football. See what I'm doing tomorrow night, excuse me, because of all what's going on, I'm going to have a current affairs. All what's going on, even in this country. Because it's been reported that the British were involved in refueling the Israeli planes to go and bomb Qatar. That is shocking. So, we'll be doing that tomorrow. And on that one, I hope everybody can, yeah, well, you must be able to, because you'll be saying, can't hear you, Frank. So anyway, I'm going to bring my great friend on. He's been waiting patiently. He's been there since 9:30, I think, this morning, sitting in his little chair. And lovely Laney's been bringing in cups of tea and biscuits. And there he is, the great man himself, Anthony Brown. Hiya, Anthony.
Good evening, Maestro. It's good to see you and hear you. Great. Now,
Do you know what? I seen your message today, and I should have just put a thumbs up, but I don't like doing that.
No,
Just a
well,
thumbs up.
I was the same thing. In between, yeah. But we talked, and I thought you said send me a reminder or remind me. So that was
Yes,
the
about
best.
Arthur Clough and Anne Clough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll be putting the map up. I'll be putting the map up to show where these great people lived, because they don't realise what they actually did, especially Anne Clough for the nation of women,
Absolute
the
remark.
nation of women, and we have to thank her. So
Yeah.
we'll be showing a map there later, and
She too is one of the subjects in the tribute window at the cathedral,
yeah,
which is
the cathedral, yeah, Anne Clough,
yeah,
yeah, the noble women. I
yes,
remember looking at the window, you know, and I had a few people with me, and I said, "This window is dedicated to the lovely ladies of Liverpool, you know, what they'd done for Liverpool."
yeah,
And this fellow went out, "It's the noble window, the noble ladies." And I went, "Oh, okay then."
there you go. Put you in.
Exactly. You might as well have done that. You know, you might as well have done that, Anthony.
Oh,
Ridiculous, honest. Ridiculous.
yeah.
And Brian says, "I know, mate, just popped in. Back on later, lads." Oh, thanks, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, the lovely, there's me old mate, Karen. Karen
Oh,
Kariako. Good evening, Frank, Anthony, and all the lovely listeners.
good evening, Karen.
Should have said her first time she ever come on, you know. And I knew Karen, by the way, I knew her. And she came on once, you know, me and our Gerard. And our Gerard said to me, "How do you pronounce that name?" I should have heard the pair of us. He said, you know her, you can't pronounce it. I said, I only know her as Karen and her husband, Steve. Should have seen us trying to pronounce her name. Oh, so funny. Jared said, what do you think she was married a fella named Jimmy Smith instead of Steve fella? So funny. So funny. Ah, thank you, Karen. Thank you. And good evening, international artist Mr. Brown says, Johan.
Good evening, Mr. Kindness, and forgive me, one and all. Good evening to all of you. And here's to a good night.
Don't bomb Iraq and you say Manchester. Start now. Come on. Come on. And Mike Codgrave. I said Cosgrove the last time. Codgrave. Hiya, Mike. Evening, folks. It's a wet evening out. I'm taking refuge in the Weatherspoons Concert Square. Very good. See? Now,
You have one full of Mike.
yeah, definitely. Have a beer on us. You get the likes of all the rain and they get into, a pub and they drink the wet stuff. As long as they don't pour us over themselves. And Karen says, the lovely Jared, yeah. I see his lads, the lads, John and James come down to see me, They're great lads. Tell your dad I was asking about will do Uncle Francis. Okay. Good evening, Anthony. Hope you're well, says ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous, good evening to you, and thank you. Getting there, still popping tablets, but nearly. I think the seasons are changing.
And Toscana. Hello, Anthony. Hope all is well.
Good evening, Toscana. I hope so with you too. I've just got this vision now with Mike's message that came up of a roaring fire in the middle of a pub where I think everyone would like to be at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hole in the wall, Frank Hay.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put up this map. I want to put up this wonderful map of ours. And it's a great map.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am here. Yeah. Right. Just want to show a thing here. Now then. You've got to imagine this, the distance between here to here, right? St. George's Hall, Adelphi Hotel. Adelphi Hotel. That's the original Adelphi. And as you know, Dickens said at the time, it's the finest hotel he's ever stayed in. He loves it. Just loves it.
Yeah.
And even the foods, everything that he was given. But you know what the mayor used to do? As I said, that's why I made a point of where the Adelphi is. Right there. To there. Right. So you can imagine he went over, went up those steps, went along here and up those steps and into the hall. Because there were steps there then. Along there, and into there. So for and he used to send for the mayor used to send his carriage up, the mayor carriage, the mayoral carriage, just to bring him over there. That's what they used to do for Mr. Dickens.
Oh,
Amazing,
yeah.
just amazing.
Whereabouts in the hall, Frank, did Dickens do his penny readings?
Do you ever remember when you said to me, "Will you give a speech on your opening of your art exhibition?"
Yes.
And we were in the concert room
Yeah.
in there.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm very humbled to say the least that I've walked on the same stage
Yeah.
as Dickens
Yeah.
when he
It
was
is.
giving
It is.
his penny readings and I was giving
Mm.
my speeches. I'm very, very humbled about that.
Wow.
And you were the first and only person to ask me to give a speech without uh, normal speeches that I gave. Do you know what I mean? You asked me to open up an
Yeah.
exhibition of yours, and I've never been asked to do anything like that. I've been asked, not in St George's Hall, but around Liverpool to open up exhibitions. You remember Jared Fleming, and he's a great photographer, as you know. There's no getting away. I opened an exhibition for him. He asked me to go down.
Yeah. I haven't seen him for a while, but you're absolutely a brilliant social photographer.
Yeah, he's brilliant,
Lovely.
absolutely first class.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
falls out with everyone for nothing.
Oh,
He fell out with me. He says, I said, "Well, why have you banned me?" He said, "Don't you know?" I said, "No. Well, have I said anything?" He said, "No, it's not what you said." He said, "You liked one of me pictures." I said, "Yeah." He said, "But you never commented." So I said, "Oh, okay." That's why he fell out with me. You can't make these things up.
oh, you know what? He has taken some of the greatest photographs I've ever seen of our beautiful city.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh,
oh,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? Can't get it. Can't get it. I was going to a show. I was going to a show where Anne Clough and Arthur Clough lived in Rodney Street,
yeah,
and I can't show it because it's not there. Unfortunately, the picture's not, because the picture's mainly of here, just here. Look at that. Look at that.
oh,
And as I said, this is where I grew up, just here,
yeah,
right there. And this was my playground. All that, my playground. Never ever thought I'd do what I did, or do what I do, even now. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And when you look at Liverpool, from the air, like this French fella did.
yeah.
Hey, Anthony, I meant to ask you when we were doing this the other night. You're an artist, and someone asked, how long did it take the French fella to do in a balloon? How long would you think that obviously he's drew it, and he's gone over it in colour, hasn't he?
He's,
After he
he's,
drew it.
he's
So
I,
how long do you think that could have taken him? I mean, to
I,
get Do you think he
Everything
went
is
up for
always
days and
scale, isn't it? You know, when you look at it, I mean, you and I have walked, and our fellow chatters have walked the streets of this city for all of our life, and it kind of feels right. This drawing feels exactly right, and that would take me about 72 years, maybe. But I don't know how they work. It's a precise art. The whole, and I should know more, and I will know more for next time we meet on history. But the the actual map drawn inside is one thing, and then to involve the illustrations of this depth is phenomenal, phenomenal. I could not imagine where he would start, and wow, how he knew to get everything in. You know, obviously the some of the streets ghosted off, but the main buildings of the city and the most historic parts of the city is got absolutely perfect. And
yes,
I don't know, think
yes,
unbelievable.
yes. And when you look at the detail,
Yeah,
the detail of it. Now, all right, there was photography in 1885, but you wouldn't bring a camera up there to take a photograph. Do you
no.
see what I mean? So I think it's done by memory
With
as well.
little rough sketches and then
Yeah.
at a point it's put together. But um, I, I, the beauty of it, I'm reminded that Da Vinci used to walk the streets of the cities like Milan and Florence. He used to walk them till he got it all perfect in his head, so he knew the scale of things. And then he'd do a map, and that became a great asset to him because working with the governors of cities, town um, elders, and stuff, he would be asked often then to do a map of Naples or wherever he was. It's a unique gift, and I think it's totally underestimated. And we have in the modern days where we've got everything on a phone and we snap phone shots of everything, we totally forget how absolutely spellbinding it is to see something like that for the first time.
But it's only like you and everybody else where, you look at a certain thing or you hear of a certain thing.
Yeah,
Like, for example, Alfred Lord Tennyson, when he seen that little column in the Thunder
yes,
about the charge of the Light Brigade that it came out to be. So he
yeah,
immortalised it, the charge of the Light Brigade.
yeah,
And so it's inspiration, really, isn't it? You as well, going about. You as one of the greatest, in my opinion, drawings of a little fountain,
yeah,
a little fountain, a, a wall fountain, which was in the area that I grew up in, down in Scotland Road.
yeah,
I think that was fantastic.
yeah,
Loved that. I loved that.
yeah,
That would be on my wall, that particular drawing, simply because
yeah,
um, it is. It's so artistic. It's like a. I hope you don't mind me saying this. It's like a Da Vinci sort of thing.
yeah. No, absolutely right. Yeah, it is, and it shows you really what we talk about with our heroes from literature as well as our heroes from history, is that they only need sometimes that little snippet, as you described Tennyson seeing, to put them onto something that becomes awesome.
Yes.
Uh, I mean, hard to believe that it's like a million things go through my mind. Was this the Frenchman? Was he commissioned to do this? Or did he kind of go city to city and say, look what I've done. Does anyone want to buy it? You know, wow. Because
Yeah.
this is absolutely, like I say, spellbinding work.
Can I tell you something funny and true? I don't know whether it's funny, but I think it's funny, and it's irony as well. A young Spanish lad, always went to visit his granddad.
Yeah,
He lived on his own, this little place. And he goes up, right, he goes up to his granddad this day, and they're just sitting outside. He always sat outside his granddad, and they were talking, and Pablo Picasso came about. Pablo Picasso.
yeah, yeah,
And he said, "Hey, granddad," he said, "you know that." And no, they were talking about great artists, even in folklore. And
yeah,
he said, and then Pablo Picasso came into the conversation. He said, "I knew him." He said, the granddad said, he said, "Did you?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "He stayed with me once." He says, "And he had no money, so he gave he gave me a painting." He said, "Did he?" He said, "Yeah." Why are you getting excited? He
yeah.
said, "Granddad." He said, "What did you do with it?" He said, "Oh, I don't like his paintings, lad." He said, "So I threw it in the loft." Is it still
Wow,
there? He said, "Yeah,
wow.
I think so. Go and have a look." And he looked and he found this Picasso painting. And he said, "Granddad, do you know this?" And he couldn't get the words out. He said, "You can have it if you want." And he said, "Can I?" He said, "Yeah." And he sold it for $15 million.
And that was so common, certainly with Picasso when he moved to Paris, and he couldn't afford the rent, let alone. And it's so true of every artist. You don't get paid a lot of money um, if no one knows your name and no one knows what you do. Don't get paid any money. But what a fantastic story that.
It is, isn't it? I'll give you
Yeah,
a quote. And it combines everything, even with the granddad, right?
yeah,
And it's from, you go back to Erasmus. Erasmus, think about it. He said once, the less talent they have, the more pride, vanity, and arrogance they have. All these fools, however, find other fools who applaud them.
yes,
That
yes.
granddad didn't know.
I love that quote, and it's as true today as it ever has been. It's
Absolutely.
the way I associate it is the fable, the
We're
fairy
all
tale, or
fools.
whatever, of the emperor's new clothes, because there are
We're
so
all
many
fools.
thousands and thousands of people who stand behind big mouth's opinion because they don't want to be seen as foolish. No, so they stand and say nothing. So the emperor's new clothes, and it takes one person to say, actually, that's not right. He's
No.
talking a load of tosh,
Yeah.
and then everyone else will say, "Oh, well, no." But that's now, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
that's what's happening now.
Yeah. Karen says, love the map. and the stunning buildings it's showing, classical designs.
Yeah.
We've always had classical designs,
Yeah.
Karen. Honestly, we have. We've always had classical designs. And Johan says, with that, excuse me, with that amount of detail illustrated, surely he has a photographic memory. He did actually. I
Maybe. Yeah.
mentioned that for the first time when I showed this map. He did have a photographic memory. But as Anthony said, and I said, you've got to go up and make sure that what you're painting, what you've like left out, even where it's situated. To be honest, and David, he says, Frank, one of them photos would look good on slate. Now, let me show you what David means. I want to put this in my cabinet. Me and Kenny Dalglish, that's on slate. Look at the detail on that. That's on slate.
Yeah.
Right, that's a photograph.
Yeah.
And, if you're a big red, look at the detail. That's the champion Premiership side, squad that won the league last season. And as he says there, Frank, one of them photos would look good on slate. Now the prices, if you want one on slate, they're brilliant, honestly, and he gives the proper detail. You wouldn't be able to do it all, but say like you wanted. I hope you don't mind, David, if I do this. Say if you wanted one of these, for example. Let's see. Say you wanted that.
Yeah.
Say you wanted that. Look at the detail there. David will put that on slate. On slate. Look at the detail there. You've got the St. John's Church.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got that wonderful St. George's Hall. You have, obviously. I think this is a brilliant building by Sir Alfred's Waterhouse. Incredible building.
Yeah.
But he wanted something different. Instead of going with the neoclassical, like Rome and Greece, he decided to have a roof full of French design. Something different, but the same brick.
Yeah.
Or the same stone, I should have said. You see what I mean? So he'd do that. He'd put that up. There's loads, you could ask for. And I mean loads. Look at that. St. Peter's Church, the Compton Hotel, the old Marks and Spencers, St. George's Church.
That's beautiful. That would be great. And there's something nice to sort of these beautiful historic stone buildings being printed on stone.
Yes, I love this though here as well. You've got the Gorry Piazza.
Yeah.
You've got the wonderful Sailor's Home. And I've noticed that's not quite straight. I must have been getting buffeted about the Sailor's Home. And obviously the Custom House. So David would do whatever you want. It just do it for you. And it's, I'll tell you how much it is. It's £8 for the slate, £8. And you get a stand as well with it. You get a stand with the slate things. I'll be giving more details when I do the football show on Saturday. Is it playing Saturday or Sunday? I'll be doing the watch along pre-match, the match, and then the post-match against Burnley. So that's what I'll be doing. So listen, you know the way we are. Thanks, mate. No problem. I'll be doing more the football, you know, on when are we playing? Is it Saturday or Sunday? I just get mixed up. Sunday. Playing Sunday, 2 o'clock kick-off. So I'll be doing more football stuff. Even coasters. Even coasters. To put your tea on. But I love this. You know, it's just a city. Really, it's the liver bird. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's sunset, though. Sunset. We'll be giving more of that. The outfield, all right, chat. Yeah, look. See?
That's
See? All the beers and the scotch. That's lovely. That really is lovely. So getting back to, you know, literature and the likes of the Cloughs, I'm awfully sorry that I really thought that I could get the
Get to one.
Rodney Street. And when you think of Rodney Street, and the very first home that was built there was for William Roscoe. William Roscoe. That was the first home that was built. He was the first resident. The very first resident. William Roscoe.
Renaissance man, wasn't he, really?
Oh, you know, we never seen any Italian things here. You know, you're talking about Renaissance. And he brought over a load of Italian paintings. He opens up exotic plants, botanical gardens.
Yeah.
And when you think that he opened that up in 1801, incredible. He was such an incredible philanthropist, really. And he's known as the greatest Liverpudlian. And there's no denying that.
No.
Because what he fought for, he fought against slavery.
Yeah.
He says, how can people look at a fellow human being, no matter what colour skin he has, and deconstruct him to dehumanise him, and then send him into slavery? That's what he said. That's what that man said.
Yeah.
And this is a man with compassion. But he loved Liverpool.
Yeah.
He just loved his city. Loved his city.
Yeah.
And he wanted to give back what he enjoyed in life, the likes of the arts, Italian arts, the likes of exotic plants.
Yeah.
Then there was another fella in 1831 named Atkins. And he said, I don't know whether it was Atkins or Atkins. And he said, he wanted to bring exotic animals over.
Yeah.
So he looked for land to put them. So he got, you know, Shield Park.
Yeah.
That was the very first zoological gardens. But his entrance was amazing, right? Because he had this big round arch. And he had these birds, you know, like tethered. They were tethered to it. And do you know what the birds consisted of? Vultures. Big vultures.
My word.
Eagles. All these
Oh my
things.
God.
Terrified.
You would think,
Terrified. Because they make a racket. They make a racket, those things. Just imagine looking at a vulture. What's that?
certainly if you didn't feel 100%.
But that was, just some of the great things that was going on, really. And we're talking about Rodney Street. Yeah, that's one of the greatest literature writers as well, besides Arthur Clough, the great poet. Arthur, say, what you had different categories of poets. I forget what the likes of Shakespeare. I forget what. I always forget. The category they were in. Then you had the metaphysical
Yeah.
poets. The likes of Andrew Marvell and John Donne. So you had the likes of them. And then you leap forward, and then you had the Romantic era, which even came under the category of William Blake and Keats and Wordsworth and Coleridge and
Yeah.
Matthew Arnold, Robert Browning, all these wonderful romantic
Yeah.
things, albeit that it wasn't all romance. And Arthur Clough came under them.
He
I
was,
even brought my book out to show you.
yeah. One of his best friends was your great ancestor.
Yeah, he wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he died
He
so.
was in that community, and he was also a socialist
Of
by
course he
what
was.
he wrote in his poetry and what he believed and the jobs he walked away from. Um, the, the, the Cloughs sound a absolutely remarkable duo,
I'll make
and
you jealous now.
you know, and what they did for education.
Yeah.
And also, I'd forgotten about Arthur was that he he worked as Florence Nightingale's secretary. Florence Nightingale was his wife's cousin, and he worked for her for years, um, unofficially as her secretary. The life that that man had was absolutely phenomenal, and he sadly passed away in Florence whilst travelling.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he was only what? I think he was about 42. Well, in his early
Yeah,
40s, wasn't he?
yeah.
In his early 40s. I just want to get something. Never mad it is. I couldn't understand his poems. Do you know? Couldn't understand Clough's poems. Come on, believe this. You see, the likes of look, I've got that's my Bible. It's very very thick. Look,
Yeah,
it's very thick. It's very thin paper, and the littlest bloody writing in the world. This is why you can't find.
I can't do them anymore.
But, but I couldn't understand his. I couldn't understand his right. I couldn't work it out. you know, the romantic era. You know, like, say not the struggle, naught availeth. And I thought, oh, this is a bit too much. I can't even read it out, honest. I can't read it out. But when you look at Arthur Clough, you know, it's people who can understand them and put them in the great romantic era. In the great romantic era.
Yes.
So, you know, people do enjoy them. And I've enjoyed them over the years. But when you look at Anne Clough and what she did for women was incredible. You know, we talk about the suffrage movement.
Yes.
We talk about the suffrage movement.
I, I think he went his own way, didn't he? It wasn't. It was almost like you couldn't categorize him. But he 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 lived and worked and studied when he went to university. When he went down, he did all of that. He's living in a society which is heavily dominated by the the
The upper
clergy
classes, that's what you
and
say.
uh, the your faith and the Anglican tradition, and he didn't agree with it, and he would say so. And so, rather than him being shunned because he was a really, really popular, friendly man who had many, many influential friends, he was just kind of put in a cupboard. But what in some of his works, he has a go at the church, or he has a go at Anglican version of church, and not God per se. And it took a long while for that to filter through because, as you know, everything is a fashion, isn't it? So even when Dickens was writing, he would have been writing a lot of stuff that people were saying, I'm not sure if that's going to work. You know, I don't know how many knockbacks he got, but um, nothing happens like that immediately.
No.
And I think with some poets, it's spontaneous, as
Of
you
course it
found
is.
with your poetry. It's about writing what's going through you. Then,
Right through your mind, yeah. It's like
yeah,
anything, you know, you look at a certain thing or hear a certain thing, and that inspires, no matter what profession you are, like you as an artist. You
yeah,
know, you just don't, like, you know, well, I think I'll paint this, you know.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like a tree or whatever, blade of grass. I'm not saying something has to inspire, you know, catches the eye right away, and you go bang.
yeah,
It's it's like his lovely sister Anne Clough. Now
yes,
Anne Clough looked at, as I mentioned before, it's all I love, as you know, Mary Wollstonecraft.
yes,
I love that woman because she wanted to emancipate women, and what she says. Well, if they, you know, I'll join them. I'll join the bloody fellas. And she used to go out and have a bevy with them. She used to go over to Paris,
yeah,
besides London. So
yeah,
she mixed with them. And they used to look at her and go, "Ah, who's this?" Because it was a male dominated society.
yeah,
And this is long before the suffrage movement.
yeah,
But before the suffrage movement, again, you know, after Mary Wollstonecraft passed on, you know, giving birth to Mary Shelley, as we all know,
yeah,
Mary Godwin. Um, then came Anne Clough. Now, Anne Clough, like Mary Wollstonecraft, she wanted the best for women. She
yeah,
just wanted the best. And she said, what can I do? She wanted them educated. She said these governesses going into homes, which is great, she said, at least, they're getting educated.
Yeah.
But I want to give them something more. I want to give them higher education rather than, the normal teachings of governesses.
Yeah.
And she opens up Newell College for ladies at Cambridge. She opened it up for them.
Yeah. She did.
The only thing that failed them, not failed really, is when they passed out everything, they didn't get a certificate. But they got a fantastic education.
Yeah.
Fantastic education on the level of men.
She did.
On the level, that's why Jane Eyre is my favourite novel. People are shocked at that. They go, I thought Dickens would have been. Dickens, I love Dickens. He's on par with the great man Shakespeare. But when you look at Jane Eyre, that's a semi-autobiography of Charlotte Bronte, who wrote it.
Yeah.
Because what she wanted, like Anne Clough, she wanted to educate kids. She just wanted to educate kids.
Yeah.
Because kids were learning nothing.
Yeah.
They had the charity schools.
Yeah.
And all as they were learning, as you know, were the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Arithmetic, writing, and when you look at that, reading, and when you look at that, it was a good thing, but it never advanced. It didn't advance kids. It just never advanced them. And yet, people have to read a poem, and I've mentioned this many times, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and it's called Aurora Leigh. Now, Aurora Leigh, her dad married an Italian girl, and he went to live in Italy, and then they had the daughter Aurora Leigh. Unfortunately, by the time she was 11, both parents died. So she had to come back to England. She came back to England because her auntie lived here.
Yeah.
And she took, she was the guardian of this child. So she sent her to school. And when she went to school, she knew more than the teacher.
Yeah.
She knew the histories. And it's just like what Charlotte Bronte and Jane Eyre wanted to do.
Yeah.
They wanted to teach them the histories, the sciences, the everything, rather than the 3 R's.
It's opening up the mind to.
Of course, but the minds were always closed, as you know, and they're still bloody closed today, because they expect you to believe everything that comes out, whether it's on the telly or in the media.
Yes.
They just want you to believe everything.
Yeah.
They don't want you to think.
No.
And this is what Anne Clough wanted to do. She opens up the brain of the women.
She did. Yeah. A lovely
One
piece.
of the great philanthropists of women, she was.
Lovely piece that I read about Anne Clough was that she was being pushed to give women the exams that men sat, for that equality thing. And she said, no, I don't think that is the way forward. I think women need to decide themselves which subjects and what to study and how to, and you've been through it yourself, and mind you, had you got your way, we wouldn't have had this chat now. You'll be digging up ruins wherever. But she always wanted to give women the freedom of choice
A
with
step
wherever
up
it
in life.
led.
A step up in life.
Yeah.
And this is what, see, this, everything kept women back. There was a philosopher, 19th century philosopher, mid-19th, called John Stuart Mill.
Yeah,
And he screamed out for the emancipation of women. But it fell on deaf ears all the time. It really fell on deaf ears all the time, simply because it was male dominated. You've only got to jump into the 20th century and Rose Heilbronn, when she became a lawyer, a barrister, and they frowned upon it, they looked down on it. Even judges were against it in the summings up. And she was a first class barrister, was Rose Heilbronn. But she broke the barriers of the law by becoming a barrister. Yeah. And nothing's ever mentioned about Rose Heilbronn. Nothing, just like the Chinese. Nothing's ever mentioned about them in our city. So it's a matter of, when you look at, as I mentioned, literature, and you look at some of the quotes coming out of literature, as I mentioned Shakespeare there. You know, there's an old saying, isn't there? What is it? Soldiers being led by donkeys, or something like
yeah.
that.
That was your opening line. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, yeah. And um,
Daryl, Frankie, Antolini, Daryl, and Owen Lee. Evening, lads and chat. Hiya, Owen.
good
Hiya,
evening.
mate. And Daryl says, my two favourite people. There you go. Ambidextrous to the Anfield Roar. He's gone now. Here we go. Toscana. Callum, I've seen the footage. I'd like to say more, but I'm not in the mood to argue with anyone in case they make excuses for that piece of trash. I'm biting my lip. Who are you talking about?
Not my signature.
Must be talking about you. Oh, Johan says, don't think it's about what Toscana's on. Dali used to draw doodles on checks. He used to give restaurants knowing the owners wouldn't cash it. Effectively eaten for free for years.
Yes. That's right. Brilliant. Yeah. Because they sold more egg and chips by saying, Charlie comes here.
The Anfield says, even if Frankie lads and Anthony hope you're both well. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lord. We are. I just don't know what, I really don't know what Callum said. really don't. Because of what Toscana said about I've seen the footage. So I haven't a clue. Really haven't. Hang on a minute. To see what Owen Lee. Owen says it was in St Helens Church next to the Punch Bowl in Sefton. Came across John Sadler, 1720, 1789, the inventor, with Guy Green of the transfer printing onto pottery, which revolutionised the industry. Thing is, we opened up the Herculaneum because we had, what was his brother? Carlyle was the most famous. Anyway, these two lads left. God blimey, what's the name of it? I forget the name of it. Some very famous potter. No, not Chesterfield. Oh, what is it? I forget. And they had an argument with him, so they came to Liverpool. And they opened up pottery here. And I've got a piece of their pottery. And they started doing things here in Herculaneum in the 1700s, around the 1770s and 80s. Do you want to see me little piece of pottery? Anthony?
Yeah.
Have you frozen?
So what? Sorry, Frank. I'm struggling to hear. Then sorry when you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to see me piece of pottery?
Yeah.
Going back to the Herculaneum, you know, when we was doing all the pottery.
Yeah.
I'll go and get it now. I'll show you. Won't be a minute. Won't be a minute. Do you know, sit on the shit? It's terrible to get up, you know. Jesus. I'll just take Owen's thing off a minute. Hang on. I'll be able to show you it. Won't be a minute. Can I take you off a minute just to show?
Yeah.
Won't be a minute. And that goes back to the 1770s.
Wow.
Just shows you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what we made? We made beautiful plates as well.
It's
And you know the white, and but there was like a reddish, brownish, reddish,
yeah.
pattern, beautiful pattern on these plates and cups and saucers, and absolutely magnificent.
So
And I always remember that program. Used to come on of a Sunday where you see fellas looking at things and giving them prices and
yeah,
going around the country.
the
And
road.
they said this fella brought in
Yeah.
a thing from the very expensive. It said the pottery was very expensive.
Yeah.
If you're selling it, you'll get I forget how much.
It's so
I think I'll sell that
historical
tomorrow.
that those items have been with us since almost caveman days, haven't
Yeah,
you? The first things we do is to create something to put liquid in to drink or eat from. And the Roman Empire, they're still finding bits and pieces there. And it's remarkable that they're still in one piece. Edgewood.
Wedgwood, Wedgwood. She says Edgewood, Edgewood. Yeah, Wedgwood, Karen. That's it. They has an argument, these two lads, and he says, "Oh, yeah, we're off." And they came up to Liverpool, and they did all the pottery.
Wow.
They did all the pottery. Look how clear that is. You think it was just made, wouldn't you, today?
Gorgeous. You could get a full bottle of scotch in that, Frank.
Why did you say that, Scott?
I don't know. It just came to me.
Put a little cork in the top and have some wine in it. Oh, yeah. Great. So, Scott, Franco, I'm replying to Callum about the Ukrainian refugee who was stabbed to death in public transport there. I'm sorry there. I didn't know anything about it.
I saw it, Toscana. It's heartbreaking.
And Johan says, brilliant piece that, Frank. Thank you, Johan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Without the scotch.
I used to have a book where it was fallen to bits, unfortunately. It was a first edition. And I got it as a present for my birthday. And it was a lady's birthday. She was 80. And I gave it to her. I said, look, because her husband's a poet and lovely man. I said, he'll get it fixed because every time I opened it, it was falling to bits. The binder had gone, everything.
Yeah.
I said, if he gets it fixed, I said, just pass it down. He must know, to your family. And that had the first time, and I think the only time, I'm sure of it, was Salvador Dali's drawings, sketches. Not
Oh,
sketches, it was Macbeth actually. And
yeah.
it was printed in 1946. It was a first edition in New York. And they got Dali to do the illustrations. And she couldn't believe it. I said, no, that's yours. Because she's played Lady Macbeth, through the years, because she was an old actress, you see. Oh, thank you, Frank. No problem. And Toscana said because it was a black man, the BLM are now saying it's okay for blacks to murder whites. That'll be mental health issues. They always come out and say, oh, it's mental health. There was a 28-year-old young American lad, black American, walking past a garden. I'm going back a few years ago, just a few, and walking past, and he pulls a gun out and blew a 5-year-old boy's head off. He was just playing on his bike, and they said it was mental health issues. It's wrong, but I don't want to get into that tonight. And no one says, well, Frank, 70, yeah, terracotta. Yeah, terracotta. Still alive, a bird, look.
Yeah.
Says it there as well. I'll tell you what else I've got. Priceless, this. Priceless, Anthony. Do you want to see it? Can you hear me? Priceless. You're going to go mad, Anthony. You're going to go, oh, Frank, can I have one of them? And I'll say, of course you can. And you'll go, are you sure? I'll go, yeah. That's a
Brilliant, Frank.
script
That's
of
your,
Dickens.
yeah, absolutely.
Script what I wrote.
You should read a section of that out sometimes. The introduction or the end.
Because
closure.
it does reflect.
Dickens doesn't have any closure on him because he'd be forever long after we're gone. But how did you wrap the play up?
But it's right, you know, because the cast is Charles Dickens. Cannot too many on the stage, you see. Charles Dickens, this is the cast members. Charles Dickens, Mr. Turnbull, Mrs. Breakspear, Mrs. Sweeting, Colour Sergeant, Soldier Branch, Soldier Hoskins, Doctor, an officer, Soldier Strong, Soldier Collie, a man, and John Kirk. And that's the cast. That's a great. And it starts off by saying, let me introduce myself. I'm Charles Dickens, and you may well be familiar with my writings. Therefore, the stories and characters that you may have read are mostly based on real life people to give the storylines authenticity. However, this particular story you are about to hear is a possibility you haven't heard before. It is a story of inspiration, devotion, and of courage. It is a story about a young boy's survival in atrocious and often brutal workhouse conditions. It is a story of outstanding gallantry when he became a young man. Finally, it is a story that greatly inspired me to write one of the country's favourite novels. And it all started here in the country's biggest workhouse, Liverpool's Brownlow Hill, with desperate banging on the workhouse door by a distressed young woman in need of a little compassion and help of urgent medical attention. That's how Dickens opens up the play.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
How about that?
Love it. Absolutely love it.
There it is. This is it's all written out.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write in total?
Do you know what? I don't know. Um, you knew Jake Abrams, didn't you?
Yeah.
And when I was writing, he used to come and visit me. And he said to me, he said, listen, can I direct her? He said, that's a great story. Can I direct it? I said, yeah. He said, what cast have you got? I said, I haven't got it yet. He said, can I pick the cast? I said, yeah. And he chose some great cast Liverpool actors. And he asked Drew Schofield. So he told me. And Drew was busy. He said, I can't do it. I'm already in plays. You know, at the Royal Court, because this was going on at St George's Hall in the concert room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then COVID hit. It was to go ahead. The tickets were there it would have been a full house all week. And it was going out on the 28th of June. Then COVID hit. Then lockdown. And we all know that lockdown was a big phony for control, which they're trying to do now. So I never got it, and in the meantime, Jake died.
Never say
Back
never.
in, I had everything was sorted out. Everything. And it was sad. Just sad. It was a great opening speech, I thought. I had to take my time on it. I had to say about, you know, people were familiar with Charles Dickens. And you could imagine him. Now, where I had Dickens standing, I had him standing directly at the left-hand side of the stage as you're looking at it, the left-hand side. And there was a spotlight over him. And the stage would have been in black. And the spotlight, you know, when everyone settled, the spotlight would have just gone pink. And he was there. And that's when he says, let me introduce myself. I'm Charles Dickens. You see?
Never say never, Frank.
And that's how then, when he finished, the light went off and the lights on the stage went, and that's where you see the opening scenes of the workhouse and the girl in distress. But she died. She never uttered a name. They were saying, who are you? What's your name? But she was feverish, she couldn't speak. She gave birth, died, and that was it. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
because the opening scene really was where you see this Mr. Turnbull. He was like the beagle of the, the workhouse,
Yeah.
horrible man. And Mrs. Breakspear, she's sitting down, and it's thunder and lightning. And we would have had flashes of lightning and the noise,
Yeah.
to give it the special effects. And Mrs. Breakspear saying, it's a horrible night. It's a horrible night to be out there, Mr. Turnbull said. A horrible night. And this is when the banging on the door came. On that horrible night, thunder and lightning,
Yeah.
flashing of rain.
Yeah.
And that's how the play started. Thanks for Karen for saying Wedgwood. I couldn't think. Funny how you can't think of it. And Karen says, excuse me, you are like a magician bringing in your props. What a simple yet beautiful piece of pottery. Oh, I'm loving the sound effects too. The puffing and the ooh as you get up from your seat. That's real, to be honest, Karen. We're all the same. The sounds we make getting up from a chair, priceless. You let me knees creak and everything. And Johan says to you, wouldn't the clay ruin the taste of Scotch, Mr. Brown?
Oh, Johan, with his sense of adventure, we've got to give it a go. It could do. In which case, we'll put more whiskey in.
I got myself a little bottle, a little bottle of, only a little quarter bottle.
Yeah.
To take a hot toddy or, take a drop before I went to bed. I haven't opened it because I haven't needed it. I've been keeping myself awake of a day without falling asleep.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And when
You
I go
don't
to
do
bed,
coffee, do you, Frank? You
I'm
don't
so
do the
tired.
coffee.
Sorry?
A coffee. You don't do coffee, do you?
No. Why?
Stuff. No. Water.
Why?
Just a little tot, hot drink, and a little tot, and that'll, yeah, that'll help.
No,
Help your singing voice as well.
Do you know what? I was in Italy once. Well, loads of times. And I asked for a cappuccino. And the waiter looked at me and he went, he knew me, you see. He said, I'm not giving you that. And he went and brought me an espresso. He said, that's what we drink. That's what we drink, an espresso. So that's what it, when I'm away, that is, that's what I drink. Espresso. A cappuccino. He said, that's there for the tourist.
One from Stephen.
Stephen says, Anthony, the pottery was a test. By suggesting putting scotch in it, you passed with flying colours.
Stephen, thank you very much.
And Johan says, that's the script for your play. Truly priceless. That piece of literature. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Johan. It's a true story, by the way, as well. It's a true story what happened to this fella. And how Dickens got his inspiration. We were talking about literature and how people get inspired by different things. And that's one of them.
By the truth.
Yeah. Because, as I said, the opening where he says all these particular storylines are actually based on real life characters. And that's the way it is. They were all based on real life characters. Even John Dawkins, the awful Zodiac, he was a little thief and he was actually transported. After he was caught, he was transported from Liverpool over to Australia. And Johan says, we've got to get that made. Not joking. The opening monologue and the sequence gave me goosebumps, says Johan. Nice. Isn't that lovely? And Karen says, Johan, it depends on how much scotch you are drinking. That's what we little, that's not what we play. And Karen said, Horlicks made with milk. You should always drink it.
Yeah.
An Ovaltine.
Did
A
you?
little Ovaltine.
Yeah. Ovaltine, all them.
Yeah.
All the old ones. Yeah.
The Ovaltine, little
Yeah.
girls and boys.
Yeah.
What's a little Ovaltine? And Stefan says, Tony, that tot is called chupito here in Spain. Cognac early morning in the coffee is a tradition here called Carlyle. Well, I didn't know that. No wonder them Spanish are always drunk of a day.
Caragillo. Oh.
And Peter Brown, evening gents, I hope you're well. Frank ordered a cappuccino in Italy and they refused. Toscana might back me up, but it's normally only a morning thing, yeah. But espresso is a morning thing, though. Really is.
Yeah.
But as he says, you know, it's a tourist thing.
So far, guys, I'm with Stefan. Because they got
the Carlyle.
And an evening.
Carlyle. Yeah, I was looking at some literature, you know, for tonight's show, and when you look at it, see, look, you can go back to anyone, and I mean anyone in literature. I mentioned the Bronte, one of the Brontes, you know, and Charlotte, and you know, the semi-autobiography. That was her semi-autobiography. What she wanted to do, but she put it down in like fiction form. But that fiction was true, what she wanted. You see, so this is why, you know, a lot of fiction is real. Charles Dickens, as I mentioned, all his characters are real. All his characters. They're incredible people. And when you look at the likes of, you know, you've got to bring in Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde. And his plays, he only ever written one book. Of all the things that was written, he only ever written one book, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the descriptive writing in it was absolutely amazing. And that was a picture of Dorian Gray. Where obviously he was narcissistic, Dorian Gray, where he covered his photograph, his portrait. And that went told. rather than him. Narcissism. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it's a pity that he only had written one book, because there was a lot there for Wilde to write more. But he was more of a, like a comedy writer, wasn't he? The importance of being earnest, absolutely brilliant. The importance of being earnest.
I think across the board in all creativity, it's the observational notes that hit the emotions more. Certainly in literature, there's someone like Dickens who's writing on what he sees, what he's experienced, and in modern days, it's the same with screenplays, movies, songs. It's the observational, real life that means more to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like this play had written, and you know, the likes of the lad, John Kirk, greatly inspired me. And I said, something should be written about this fella. And I wrote it. I wrote it. Say, look, I'll just read you this line, a couple of lines from it. Okay, yeah. Now that was Act 1, Scene 1. This is Scene 2. Brownlow Hill Workhouse, gale blowing, cold and wet. Scene, table, 2 chairs, a roaring fire, Mrs. Breakspear sitting, Mr. Turnbull standing and remonstrating whilst closing the door from the elements. Wind howling. Mr. Turnbull, the weather's turned into a howling storm, Mrs. Breakspear. Better off in here than out there, eh, madam? Mrs. Breakspear, oh, better off in here than out there, Mr. Turnbull, sir. Be careful, you might catch your death, I'm sure. See, Mrs. Turnbull, Mrs. Breakspear was very sarcastic to him. When she said, oh, be careful, or you might catch your death, I'm sure. Mr. Turnbull remonstrating, pointing and raised voice, and they are also better off in here, Mrs. Breakspear. Mrs. Breakspear, who's better off in here, Mr. Turnbull? Is it the good guardians of the workhouse, you mean? And Mr. Turnbull replied, no, not the guardians, madam, the workhouse good-for-nothings. That's who. The guardians, indeed. The woman's going mad. Mrs. Breakspear, oh, you're right, Mr. Turnbull, sir. The good-for-nothings are better off in here than out there, especially on a night like this. Turnbull in angry and pompous mood. They certainly are, Mrs. Breakspear, they certainly are. As for the good-for-nothings themselves, they should be on their hands and knees praying to the Lord for being sheltered away from storms like this. And besides giving them shelter, madam, we give these ungrateful wretches food and work, and what do they give us back in return? Nothing but complaints, complaints and more complaints. Ungrateful wretches, the lot of them. You would think we didn't feed them the way they complain, madam. And Mrs. Breakspear says, what do the ungrateful wretches expect, Mr. Turnbull? The meat and gravy the guardians gorge themselves on, and wine to gulp it down with. She was taking the piss, you see. And that's the opening scene.
Brilliant, Frank.
I'll give you the copy. I'll give you the copy to take home and you can read it.
We need to get it out there.
It's how the workhouse, I had to get it over how the workhouse worked to people. Because they really thought that they were helping. They really thought they were helping these people because they undermined them. And it's like when Oliver Twist went up and said, please can I have some more?
More.
More.
No.
And so they were being starved. And that's why she's turned around and said, Mrs. Breakspear turned around and said, oh, do you mean, meat and gravy that the guardians of the workhouse who sit on the top table, meat and gravy and wine to gulp it down with. And that's what they were doing. They were feeding themselves rather. They were getting the funding to feed these people, but they weren't. They were feeding themselves.
Yeah.
And giving the people scraps. It's just nuts.
And again, Dickens himself went through that in real life.
Yeah.
As we've all our chat been through injustice, and they stay there. You remember them. He wrote it down.
Yeah, he did write it down because what it reminds me of, strangely, some parts of Dickens's life story is Macbeth. And I'll tell you for why. He had to go out because he was in a debtor's prison over his dad. He had to pay off, and he had to go out into a blackening factory.
Yeah.
And he used to come home, and he always had black on his hands. And even when he left, and he became a very successful author, he washed his hands no less than 30 times a day. And he always complained about the blackness. He seen the black on his hands and he washed them. He just washed 30 times a day. Now, Macbeth, when Macbeth himself said, after he killed Duncan, regicide, and he said, all the oceans of, all the oceans of Neptune cannot wash away this evil deed, the blood.
Yeah.
Yet his wife, Lady Macbeth, all she was saying was, out, damn spot. You see, it was just a little spot to it. Out, damn spot. Whereas all the oceans of Neptune cannot wash away this evil deed.
Yeah.
That Macbeth said, full of it, full of blood. And that's what reminded me of Dickens, washing his hands constantly.
Yeah.
Until the day he died.
Yeah.
30 times a day.
Yeah.
So this is what I try to put over in the play, the conditions of workhouse, but also the conditions of the army. You might think that the army, it just reminds me of London, William Blake as the hapless soldier sighs as blood runs down palace walls. The army were nowhere. They just sent you out like they do today, to die for rich people. That's the way it is. So I try to get over everything from workhouses to the army and the battles.
Yeah. The claustrophobia of that.
Oh, you know, there was diseases going on at the time that they knew nothing about, but they just said that it was, you know, oh, you're drunk. You're drunk. And staggering because they slurred the speech. They were suffering from narcolepsis.
Yeah.
Slurring your speech and staggering. And they thought that, you know, people were drunk on parade and whatever, and they were executed because they were put on. If you were drunk on parade, you know, that's a law unto itself. And you were brought before, you know, these generals, colonels and generals, and they always made an example in the army. Shocking. Shocking.
See, that's what I was meaning before when the power of observational writing. It, I think the fact that when you realize that that's the truth or that's how things were, it impacts you more. When you when I first heard you reciting that um, story, John Kirk story, um, it was absolutely staggering because it's the inhumanity of things. All of his life.
There's lots of inhumanity in everything. Lots of it, unfortunately. You've only got to read William Blake, his poems. And Stephen says Daniela's dad, as a kid in the 40s, by Lake of Como, by Lake Como, used to rub grappe on his hands to keep them warm in winter to go to school. Wow, grappe. And writers use real events to find inspiration because the mind really imagines as much as reality is capable of producing, whether in achievements or tragedies. Well,
Yeah,
that's me.
absolutely, Stefan. And that's what touches us when we read it or someone reads it to us.
And as he says, Tony is right about the emotional connection. People feel authenticity. Yeah. And Nolan Lee says there's a book about the American Confederate family in Liverpool called The Abercrombies. Don't know if it's a true story or not. Any ideas, lads?
It's it's a fictionalized book, isn't it? Based on wasn't he the chap you had on that
Yeah.
night?
See, he's taken it from Abercrombie Square, but there
Yeah.
was a Confederate consul and consulate. I've actually filmed it, Owen. of a film that belongs to Liverpool Uni now. And seeing that I was an old boy, I used to bring people in, and when I was asked, I asked for permission to film it. He said, "Yeah, no problem," and filmed it. And the consul was a fella named Prolu, and he married a Liverpool girl, by the way, Prolu. The Alabama, the Alabama that was built over in Carlyle got involved in the Civil War, and it had to go around to, it sneaked out, because you had spies here, you had Union spies spying on the Confederates here. So it sneaked out of Carlile's one night, and it got to Anglesey, where there was a crew waiting, and the crew was Liverpool, full of Scousers, and they all bailed on it. Now, if they were to be found out that these the crew members of the Alabama was from Liverpool, it would have been a massive international incident. You know, the Americans, that is. But it calls out the English or the Brits about the Liverpool crew. And it sank loads of ship in the Alabama. Powerful ship for the time. I don't know where my little oh, there that is. Simon says, Charlie Kirk has been shot in Utah at a school campus. Doesn't look good. Things getting crazier in the States. This will cause uproar in the MAGA movement against the left. But the MAGA movement has been let down by Trump himself. You know, they voted for a man. He wanted to make, or they thought, make America great again. I'm being honest, I put on a comment ages ago when, you know, he was fighting for this MAGA, when he was fighting for the presidency last year. And I said, when was the last time America was great? When was it great? Where's the make America great again? And people were saying, oh, economics and all this, you know. So, yeah, okay. Oh, Karen, I'm going to have to go now, everyone. I will catch you up at the end in the morning. I'm going to ring you, Frank. And I said, oh, do that, please. Oh, she'd be well gone. Oh, she'd be well gone. Please do. Please do ring me. Tony, John le Carre got his first character ID as observing average men at airport bars, considering that's how spies are caught. Oh, ought to be, I'm sorry. Invisible in a crowd.
Yeah. The best way, whether you're a writer, artist, comic, you know, is to take that corner seat in a cafe and just watch the world go by.
Well, that's how Bleasdale and McGovern and all the writers, that's how they got their inspiration.
Yeah.
Just observe.
And also the things we go through in life. You work in a factory, you work in wherever, you know.
Fascinating Dickens discussion. Are you a fan of George Orwell? Yes.
Yeah.
See, Anthony and myself, Peter, We've got great visionaries. And believe it or not, we go back to Shakespeare. Shakespeare, he was a great visionary, an incredible man. Then you leap. Then you had the philosophers. Then you had the Renaissance. And one of the greatest visionaries was none other than Leonardo da Vinci. So, we've discussed him and his vision. Then you leap forward again. Then you get the philosophers. Incredible men. These philosophers. It's hard to put. It really is hard to put anything on it, to be honest. It's like what I mentioned before. And when I mentioned Erasmus, now Erasmus was in the early part of the 16th century, the 1500s, Erasmus. And he said the less talent they have, the more pride, vanity and arrogance they have. All these fools, however, find other fools who applaud them. That's Erasmus. That's going back to the early part of the 16th century, the 1500s. See, these are the visionaries.
Yeah.
I'm not just being funny when I say that, you know what I mean? So yeah, Orwell, unbelievable man. I just like, I really like the way people look at us, if you know what I mean. And it's a matter of, I think I've mentioned this before, and it's when you look at people, and I keep saying, the likes of Voltaire as well, Voltaire, a great Frenchman, and he was a philosopher. And he just came out and said, the comfort of the rich depends upon the abundant supply of the poor. The comfort of the rich depends upon the abundant supply of the poor. Wow. And that's the way it is. It really is. So sad. So sad. And what we talk about as well, see, we talk about the way fiction represents reality, because the reality, what you read today about certain things, and if they go like that, I'm talking about the spin merchants, and they go, we've got to do something about this, we've got to spin this one way or the other. We have to. And they spin it. They spin it, so therefore the likes of Aldous Huxley, for example, he said the trouble with fiction is that it makes too much sense. Reality never makes sense. Reality never makes sense because it's spun into fiction. You just can't believe it. People do believe it. It's like Mills and Boons. She looked at him, and he looked at her, and it was bells and everything going off. fireworks. And then they embraced and looked into each other's eyes, then kissed. And it was bliss. It's fiction. It's not real. And as I said this loads of times, what Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if it would be true. Because he knows that it's spun into fiction. It's going on today. It's going on today. Everybody's got a label. Everybody. And mental health is a label as well. But that's to get away with murder. It's so easy to say, oh yeah, mental health. Oh, he's suffering from it. Oh, he was abused as a child and all that. Fuck off. Not having that. Sorry to swear, but it does make me swear. Oh yeah, look. Owen. Lads, where do you stand on the Shakespeare versus Bacon conspiracy? Sir Francis Bacon was, you're not going to believe it, Owen. He was actually Liverpool MP. He was ostracised from the court of Elizabeth because he, you know, he was saying all mad things and whatever. And they ostracised him and they said, you can become a Liverpool MP. So he said, yeah, all right. So he did, but he never ever visited Liverpool. And as far as, look, you get Americans saying that Shakespeare never wrote his plays. Shakespeare wrote his plays. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I've delved into it. They were saying a fella named Evere wrote the plays. And Bacon, no. Bacon was too much up the backsides of the Elizabethan courtiers until he was ostracised and thrown out. Then he was brought back in. And they said, what are them Scousers like? He said, oh, tough people though. Did you go around the town? No, never ever went. Oh, well, all right then. You can come back to us. I'm only joking when I'm saying that. Toscana to Stefan. Espresso Corretto was my dad's speciality. As he made his own grappa, he turned the kitchen into a distillery. What's he meeting there, Dad? Going in. Yeah, come in, lad, sit down. Come out staggering all over the place. Brilliant.
That would make a great opening scene in any book. The realities of life.
And Peter says, yeah, cracker, the road to Wigan Pier is a great account of how disconnected the upper class are from the working masses. So right. So right, Peter. And they are. You see, when you look at prose, especially in the 19th century, and you look at the Bronte, I never ever liked Jane Austen. There was loads of things going on at the time, like the Napoleonic Wars, and well, she never even mentioned them. She just mentioned all this love nonsense. But when you get the likes of the Brontes, changed completely. the likes of Wuthering Heights. And as I mentioned before, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights was something else. Heathcliff, Scouser. Heathcliff is Scouser. And Stephen says, we have reached the junction of 1984 Brave New World, and Atlas shrugged. It's not a Brave New World. You've only got to look at some certain countries,
Yeah.
and they're the terrorist state.
Yeah.
The big terrorists. Yeah, as a sprinkle of Fahrenheit 451. That was a cracking film. Says Johan. That's brilliant. That, well done, you lot. Coming out with some crackers here. Was listening to Stoic saying on YouTube, felt invisible afterwards. Then the missus and two daughters came home and folded like a cheap suit. You can imagine that, couldn't you? So you see, I'm finishing now, ladies and gents. Got to finish, poor Anthony's falling asleep there. Can't get a word in edgeways. So the highlights of anything literature is what you've been saying out there. The likes of George Orwell. One of the greatest visionaries that they never even mentioned was Jules Verne.
Yeah.
And also the War of the Whales fella.
Yeah.
One of the greatest of all visionaries. War of the Whales and the Time Machine. Think about that.
And then the like Orwell were reality and a flight of imagination.
Yeah.
It's hard to call it imagination now because in hindsight, we're looking back at when they wrote it. Wow. Because they're
But,
predicting what is going on now.
Andy, where does H.G. Wells get his inspiration from to write a time machine about a time, and also, planes dropping bombs in a war? Obviously, he must have done his research into. When I talk about the First World War, I just don't talk about the 28th of August after the heat wave and we all went to war. I have to have a big preamble from the 1871 Franco-Prussian War and the beginnings of, the state of the European nations and wanting wars. And they were ruled by the royalty. Big squabble. Big family squabble.
Yeah.
And we lost 1 million men, young men. As Wilfred Owen says, we've lost the cream of British youth.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yep. Anthem for Doomed Youth.
Owen Lee, invincible. And stepping to Peter. If you like reading on 19th century massive struggle, check Emile Zola. Wrote about France but mining and industrial workers suffered equally, whether in northern France or England. I've got to try and keep awake till about 11:30, not fall asleep. Then I can go to bed. And Johan says, thank you, Frank, Anthony, and Legends in the chat for a brilliant show as usual. Have a good night, Legends. Frank, it's the paranormal show on for tomorrow. I haven't heard. Jason hasn't. I haven't heard. But what I'll do, if he's on, I'll have it. But if not, I'll have to. I'll bring it forward, my Friday show to tomorrow, if you know what I mean. And I'll have him on Friday. I just don't know what's happening. I really don't. But Jason hasn't said anything. Because when he was coming on, he was away. I don't know. I don't know. Really don't. But it depends on what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's either the paranormal, spooky, and or what's going on in the world, because it's very important. From the likes of America to Qatar, Israel, Ukraine, everywhere. These nuts who are in charge of us. Oh, the lovely ambidextrous. Great show again, Frank and Anthony. Really interesting topics. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, ambidextrous. I'm glad your cousin didn't ring you up. Because you can't get a word in edgeways. Was that me? Was that or ambidextrous? That was ambidextrous, wasn't it? And David, great show once again. That's cheers. Thank you, David. You'll never walk alone.
Thank you.
And Owen says, do you think some authors and poets that we now consider visionaries were able to see through the veil? So, yes, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant what you've just said there, Owen. Great show again. Thank you, gentlemen. Absolutely brilliant. They did see through the veil. They did. It's a shame that we didn't do any poetry really, because they condensed everything. It's like the opening lines of Anthem for Doomed Youth by Wilfred Owen. The opening 2 lines, and you've only got to look at the title, Anthem for Doomed Youth, First World War. What passing bells for these who die as cattle. And they were all banned. They couldn't be printed until 1930. Yeah, and no one says, and you're so right, William Blake would be locked away now. Of course he would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course he would.
Yeah.
For sedition. Well, he did. He got locked up when I mentioned a couple of lines from London. As the hapless soldier sighs as blood runs down palace walls, and the blackening church appalls. And he got brought up for sedition. And he was in court for it. How he got away with it, God knows, especially back in the day. You're talking 1794.
Yeah. And they were calling him godless, and
oh yeah, godless.
Which he wasn't.
And you know, someone mentioned about how the class system worked, and it worked against poets. It worked against Blake. It worked against John Keats.
Worked against Keats.
So they undermined him. Keats, one of the greatest poets of all time. And Blake wasn't only a great poet, but he's also a fantastic artist. Am I right, Anthony?
And again, we've used the word tonight for other things, but Blake was a visionary in what he accomplished with his works.
Now, here's one hard-hitting one. Imagine the art and literature that could come out of Palestine in the next decade if they leave anyone alive from there.
No, you're right. You're right. And the hope is that those stories that travels wherever it needs to get out. It was like Ireland in the 1500s when downscaling things, the way to get literature and the story across was just to talk, sit round the fire with other people.
Well, it's like that reminded me, Johan, of
Yeah.
the English Civil War. Now, if the English Civil War would have started around, if Cromwell would have been going then, that lunatic, around the Shakespeare time, his plays would never have been written. So you could imagine how much literature was lost during his period of rule. Lord Protector, and he only has one, John Milton, to write.
Yeah.
That's all. Because he was a Puritan with a small c, as they said. But nevertheless, he was the only one he could write. And he was supposed to write psalms. That's all he was supposed to write. But he was doing a little bit of writing on the side. So you can imagine budding writers who couldn't even do it. And all that's lost. Just lots to get through. Isn't there, Anthony? So that's me done for the night.
All right, Frank.
That's my vision for tonight.
Well,
Vision going to bed and he gets some sleep. So what you think tonight then?
I love to. I always do get. My mind's everywhere now. I need to read another 5,500 books before sleep. But yeah, I do. But that's the reason we got onto it in the first place, because the sparks of inspiration that fly from these things, and it's quite apt that we're ending it on Johan's question there, or statement. I could imagine, and any art and any literature that comes from that would be the truth.
Well, the thing is, you see, it mightn't come from a Palestinian, but it will come from someone. And it will be hard hitting.
Yeah.
Someone will just sit down and, who knows that the Western press is just saying nothing.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, oh, this is wrong. Why don't they do something about it? Why don't they do something about it? There's Trump there. He knows that there's a journalist banned from going into Gaza
Yeah.
because the state of it. If you could imagine the stench as well, because there's thousands of bodies still underneath rubble.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want all that, you see. But
Oh,
someone will come out and write.
yeah. Yeah.
It's just like before when these couple of drones went over the space of Poland. You've got to be careful by just accusing Russia, because I just don't forget what Zelensky did at the beginning when he sent over drones into
Yeah.
Poland and killed 2 farmers. And he said, "Oh, it's the Russians, tell us the Russians. Let's go and bomb them." That's what he wanted. So you got to be careful. Toscana. Audible is a blessing, as it's not always possible to sit and read, yes. And it's a great way to get into books. I'm just starting on 1984.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Good.
That's nice. And Owen Lee. Every day is a school day with Frank and Anthony. Thank you for the excellent company.
Owen, you are so right, and that's the way I feel. Well, we've been friends for years, and if we're going for a cup of tea or like tonight, we're sharing the night with you wonderful people. It is the same thing for me every time. It's a journey, and there's never been a time um, we've met up or I've listened and thought, I need to read that. I need to check that person out. That person. It's you know, love it.
Well, thank you, Owen. Really appreciate it. And Stefan says to Toscana, you will find that each sentence in 1984 is a quote. Enjoy. P.S. Actually, Rand wrote on the same topic years before. So she initiated the movement. And Toscana says, thank you. I didn't know that. I'll check it out.
Yeah, me too.
Right, so Anthony, thank you so much. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to thank this bunch of lads, Anthony.
Yeah,
And it's Gap Painting Services. Please get them in. Don't struggle if you're an NHS worker, if you're an elderly, like Anthony there. Right, Anthony? Get them in. You get a special discount. They're fully insured. They're fully time served. And honestly, they're absolutely brilliant. Just get them in. And as I keep saying, if you don't fit into those categories, they're very reasonable. Just bring them in and just give you a quote on things without any obligation. That's Gap Painting Services. The sponsors of every Frank Carlyle podcast. And Johan. False flag to involve NATO by the Green Goblin, but that's for tomorrow. Take care, legends, says Johan. I said that at the beginning, didn't I? To Simon, you can't just take things for granted with this fella. And Trump, they're all liars. Every single one of them. And Stefan says, good night, maestros. Anthony, I'll let you know when we come again to fill that live pottery.
that would be absolutely fantastic. Wonderful.
Oh, my elbow's killing me, you know. I thought I got rid of it. So don't forget, people, if you ever want any of the map done, sections of the map, you can get it on slate. It'll be fantastic. And it'll cost you £8 and it comes packaged, by the way. Everything comes packaged. So, for me and Anthony, from me and Anthony, it's what Toscana says. Buonanotte and grazie. Franco, Anthony and Chatters. Thank you.
Good night. God bless Toscana.
I'll see you all tomorrow. Well, whoever wants to join me tomorrow to go on about whatever I'm going to go on about. Please do. Please join me. Good night, Anthony.
Good night, Frank. Good
Listen,
night.
I'm going to give you the ring later on. Is that all right? I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
Good.
I'm going to ring you to keep me awake. There's a method in the madness. No, I'll give you the ring. I'll give you the ring in about an hour. Is that all right? I'll just make myself a cup of tea.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, Anthony. See you later.
See
Thanks,
you.
everybody. See you tomorrow night, hopefully. Good night now. Ciao.
Good night.
Ciao, Bella.